AATBirds Weekly Report is the Eagle news, notes, and analysis you need.
He's going to go. What a give it to Smith, and they stop. Go back. He looks, fires for the end zone. Intercepted. Intercepted. The 20, the 10, the 5. Touchdown. Not where? Not where? Midfield. He's going to go. Deshaun Jackson. He steps up, he's hit, and falls forward. And he fumbles the football, and the Eagles have it. It's gone.
It's all birds, all the time.
And welcome to another edition of the AATBirds Weekly Report. I myself, Johnny Uleka, is joined by Chip at Chip for the Birds and at Empire Stories. Going to talk a little bit about the Philadelphia Eagles adding some veterans to their roster. A couple of moves that we've talked about this offseason in terms of the holes on the team to upgrade the team. Also going to talk a little bit about some camp standouts, some news in camp, some different things happen in there. Plus also the Eagles this Saturday play preseason opener. Eagles football is right around the corner. Preseason football is not like regular season, but still it's Eagles football. What we kind of hope to see. And then of course we will do the questions as always. The fun questions that Chip loves. We'll do two with him and then I'll post one. But Chip, how's everything going?
It's good. I had the opportunity to go to the Philadelphia Eagles open practice. I was doing some live.
We will talk about that as well.
So I was doing some live tweeting. I got to see the team up close. It's a different feel. I mean, I we do a show for the Philadelphia Eagles talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. And the fact of the matter is 50,000 people went to a practice.
Yeah.
There's no better team in football. 50,000 people decided to go to a practice. We're talking about practice.
No, it's absolutely amazing seeing the crowd and everything. In terms of what was going on was absolutely amazing. Cowboy fan getting kicked out and all that. All that good stuff. But it was awesome to see that kind of crowd. Now, of course, I've been on the train of I wish I could go to Lehigh and see the preseason or the training camp practices and everything. I'm going to always stay on that bandwagon.
And I agree with you on that. I was actually talking to a fan about this.
Yes, Jose, we are talking about practice.
Talk about practice. I was actually talking to a fan about this at the open practice where, the cool thing about Lehigh, and Johnny, you said this before, is you got to build a connection to the players. They were right there. I mean,
yeah.
While the open practice is amazing and you can get 50,000 people there, and that's incredible, it loses some of the fan feel that Lehigh used to provide.
I think a lot of it has to do with not the fan feel. I get that, but it's, for me, that was my summer. I looked forward to summer, especially right after my birthday, because training camp was starting up and Lehigh was coming up. I would schedule what practices I wanted to go to a couple. You go through the tents there. You look at all the stuff they have, the gear they have for sale. Then you walk out and you're on the practice field. What practice field I want to go to, who's practicing where. And then it was so close knit, being able so close to the practices. I'm not a season ticket holder. I don't get to go to every single game. The way ticket prices are and everything, it's hard to be able to get to multiple games. Unfortunately, I'm not able to do that. So the being at Lehigh, being at the practices, you felt real close to the team to be able to, because I live 15 minutes away. So for me, it was even closer than having to drive all the way to Philly. But again, I don't think that we are going to see it ever again, unfortunately. But
yeah, I don't either. I think that the days of of the Lehigh and like the small, like, having the players sleep in dorms and I don't see that going back to that way. Just because football is such a high tech, multi-billion-dollar industry that there's no reason for it. Even though the nostalgic fans want it.
Yeah, you're right on that. But again, like, what did you see? Anything, since you were there, eyes were there talking about, camp, what did you see that kind of opened your eyes? What did you see that was like, meh, again, it is practice, but we try and take anything at this point when football season's so close.
So I had a couple observations, and I was paying attention. I went live a couple times on Twitter just to kind of show the people who didn't want to come down what was going on. So a couple observations that I had. Number one, Jalen Hurts is loved by this fan base, and he has earned it. Him coming out, the crowd, all 50,000 erupted chanting MVP. And again, he's earned it. You saw the NFL release their top 100 players. He went from being unranked to number 3. It's exceptional. Jalen Hurts is well on his way to being that guy, and Philadelphia has a great future with him at the helm. Staying in the quarterback room for a second, Tanner McKee is one of the most flat-footed, clumsy, atrocious quarterbacks I have ever seen on an NFL football field. They were doing this opening high step drill, and he literally was tripping over objects that weren't moving. So I think that one thing that you're going to see during the preseason is when he doesn't get a lot of reps because Ian Book is clearly the number 3, and you're now allowed to dress 3 quarterbacks. Tanner McKee will be lucky if he makes a practice squad. He may actually be cut based on.
I'll tell you this right now: Ian Book will not be on the roster.
Okay,
it'll be Tanner McKee. That's just what I see. They've had plenty of there's been plenty of big clumsy type of quarterbacks. He's a developmental type of guy, like Nick Foles was never as fleet of foot.
No. Hold on, sir. You will
he
not
wasn't fleet of foot. You can't tell me he was.
Hold on. You will not slander the Super Bowl MVP and winning Nick Foles in the same sentence as Tanner McKee. You will not do it. It will not be done on this show. It's not going to happen, sir.
I just did it. So
yeah. Well, we just lost 17 viewers. Way to go. Yeah. I mean, Tanner McKee is definitely. He is a work in progress. If there's anybody that I trust to progress quarterbacks and players in general, it is this coaching staff. But oh boy, it is not a 1-year project. This is a multiple year project.
What you say about him, because looking at Lance Zierlein's analysis, one of the NFL.com draft analysts, his analysis on it, of course, his strengths. Excellent size, release look tighter, ball comes out easy, tight spiral, drive velocity, everything. But it's his weaknesses: clunky feet in play action and rollouts. It's funny. You said that, but it was funny because clunky feet.
Clunky. It's a great way of saying he was clunky. But again, if we get to the point where Tanner McKee has got to take meaningful snaps this season, the season is a loss. You know what I mean? That means we would have gone through Jalen Hurts. We would have gone through Marcus Mariota, and that's just not going to work for me. Another matchup that I saw and I have been watching, and you already know, is I have been watching the punter matchup because Aaron Cypress was just not good enough last season. He was towards the bottom in all statistical categories that matter to punters, which means they had to bring in somebody to compete. So they bring in Tyler Zettner, and at the open practice, Zettner did not get as many opportunities as Aaron Cypress, so it's clear that he's still in the lead there. And the only way that he is going to win the job is by out-kicking him and making it a non-comparison, because the tandem of Elliott and Cypress with kicking field goals is just too strong, and Elliott's going to get the last say there. So Zettner would have to blow him out of the park, and from what I saw, that's not going to happen.
And that's what worrisome a little to me is that he's going to be kept around because of the holding for Jake Elliott. And,
Right.
Unfortunately, we'll see where that goes. But that is definitely something to watch come the preseason. But I want to bring up.
Oh, wait. Hold on. I have one more observation for the open practice.
Go ahead. Go with the next observation.
My next observation from the open practice is they ran a bunch of drills, whether they were 7-on-7, 11-on-11, whatever they were. This defense, if they remain healthy, if they remain with the ability to grow week to week to week, could go down as one of the greatest defenses, single season defenses in NFL history. This front seven is scary. I'm talking like Chicago Bears scary. I'm talking Pittsburgh Steelers scary. I'm talking all of those, the Baltimore Ravens. This defense, I love Jalen Hurts. And one of the things he's gotten a lot better at is not holding on to the ball too long. He would have been sacked multiple times by this defense. And we have an all-pro offensive line. Marcus Mariota held the ball entirely too long because there was nothing available for him to throw to, and he would have gotten sacked multiple times. This defense is going to wreak absolute havoc in the NFL this season.
And again, how many sacks did they have last year? Look at the
it's
NFL
crazy.
record. So they were on point last year when you look at what they did, and I can't wait to see what Desai does. I'm really intrigued listening to him speak. He knows, he's been in this city. He knows what the city's about. He knows what good defense is. And for me, I'm really interested to see. Now, you're not going to see much in the preseason.
Nope.
But going into the regular season, see how they deploy the defense. And, looking at some of the players on, defense side of the ball. One player in particular that Jimmy Kempski reported is basically a lock to be a starter is Reed Blankenship. And what a story, he has been. Being undrafted free agent out of Middle Tennessee State, playing later in the season last year, especially after Gardner Johnson gets hurt, he comes into that Green Bay game. He gets an interception off Aaron Rodgers. He plays really well downhill. He just seems to be getting better and better. And if that's the case, and they're able to get quality play out of an undrafted free agent, it just makes it even better because Kendall and I talked about it. They are very, very good when it comes to undrafted free agents. And when you look at an undrafted free agent, you're not looking at a guy that is going to be an all-pro or a Pro Bowler. It's not how you look at that. But if you get a guy that does what he is asked to do, does what he's supposed to do, can make a splash play here and there, and is a capable starter, that is an absolute win. And the Eagles have been able to do that multiple times, whether it's been in the Nick Sirianni era, whether it's been in Doug Peterson, Andy Reid, even Chip Kelly. Listen, they as a team and an organization are very, very good when it comes to finding undrafted free agents.
Yes.
And, there's a couple guys when you look at this year, Mekhi Garner, the defensive back out of LSU, has shown a lot of promise. You have Joseph Ngata.
He was who I was going to mention. He's really apparently shown off like he might win a
big
job.
Receiver. He's that Zach Pascal type of replacement, a bigger body type of receiver, which they need. But,
yeah, and that's the thing. You mentioned that he's a little bit bigger. You're talking 6'3", 217. I mean, that's a great size. And he comes from a program like Clemson that, plays professional football at the college level. That size, that height. One of the things that I have found that I love about the Sirianni era is he insists on players being able to play multiple positions. So one of this Eagles' weaknesses is still at the tight end position. Who's to say he might not get some reps at the tight end position?
Potentially. Again, the tight end position is another one that is, you're really looking into seeing what you have there because there is a lot of unknown after Dallas Goedert. And Jack Stoll's the number 3 guy. He's a blocking tight end, which is totally fine because he's very good at that job. But I don't know what you have in Tyree Jackson. Dan
I don't know what you have in Dan Arnold.
Yeah, and it's interesting because a lot of this team, when you look at the players, and another guy that was an undrafted free agent that's been in the league, been in the Eagles organization for a couple of seasons on their practice squad and everything, is Christian Ellis, the linebacker. He's gotten first team reps. A bigger linebacker, like say around 6'3", 6'2", 6'3", 240, 245 pounds. A bigger body. He came in last year late to play special teams and played really well on special teams. And I think he's another guy to keep an eye on. But again, you don't want to rely on too many undrafted free agents, but if you could sprinkle them in and be able to play their role, and which kind of segues us to talking about the linebacker position.
Great segue.
Now, the Eagles added some veterans. Now, they did add a veteran on the offensive line in Josh Andrews, which I think a lot of that has to do with the center position. Before we get to the two linebackers, I want to talk on this really quick. So they had Brett Toth has been playing some backup center, and he's not been doing so well. High snaps, everything. The thing is, if something were to happen to Jason Kelce, the Eagles don't like to maneuver their line. They don't want to put Juergens center, then have to get another right guard. They don't like to do that. And if Juergens, which right now he's been playing really well at right guard in camp, he gets that spot, they need a backup center. Right now they have Cameron Tom, who is a end of the roster type of player. So they signed Josh Andrews, a veteran, 32 years old, played some center, and he's played with multiple teams. He's been in the league for 10 years. He's played 48 games, I believe, 6 starts. So he's got some experience. So they signed him. I like the move because he needs some veterans. They did it with Dennis Kelly. Again, you want some veterans and the second team. So players who've been there before can play multiple positions with Andrews can play guard, can play center. I like that.
Yeah.
Now,
and the thing is, you mentioned that they don't like moving players around too much. Cam Juergens is the heir apparent to Jason Kelce. So at some point he's going to have to go there. But with that being said, I really don't necessarily care who the other guys are. I think that Jack Driscoll is falling on the depth chart, at least according to ESPN, which is surprising to me because I think Jack Driscoll played well when he had to last year. But Lane Johnson is the best tackle in football. Jason Kelce is the best center in football. Jordan Mailata is I'll say top 10 because he's still young.
Yeah, I would say top 10 is good.
I would say top 10 because he's still young and you got to do it a little more consistently. Top 10 tackle in football. So the offensive line is a strength.
What about Dickerson? Dickerson's a top 5 guard.
Dickerson is on his way up too. Again, this line, the front 5 are an exceptional group of people. And the fact that they have players who are able to back up is great. Now, I love the bringing Dennis Kelly back. He's had some success. I love the bringing Josh Andrews back. He's had some success. I personally don't care if Brett Toth ever sees a football field again. I just don't. So I don't care personally if Suopeta ever sees a football field again. I just don't.
So looking at the Eagles released an unofficial depth chart. Okay. And you have Mailata at left tackle, the backup Dennis Kelly. Again, he's a swing tackle veteran, which is fine. Landon Dickerson, of course, we know the starters. The backups, they have Brett Toth as the backup center right now, and then they have Andrews and Tom. Again, we'll see how that plays out. They have, of course, Josh Sills, who was reinstated after he was, found innocent.
Cleared
of everything that happened there. A player that they like, has size, can play guard.
Oh yeah.
So Tyler Steen, of course, the rookie. There's things to look at with this offensive line. Those backup positions, there's a lot of roster maneuvering for them to fight. My one thing I thought was interesting was, yes, Kenny Gainwell is the first running back that is labeled. They have they're all first team running backs, it seems, the way they have it marked. But it's Gainwell, Penny, Boston Scott, Trey Sermon, and then DeAndre Swift, which was interesting.
And I do find that interesting because I'm on ESPN's depth chart, which obviously isn't the same. And DeAndre Swift is listed as the number 1 back.
Yeah. So
it goes Swift, Penny, Gainwell, Boston Scott, and then they forget that they even have Trey Sermon.
again, that's going to be another position that's going to be fun to watch. And again, brings me to the opening point here is the linebacker position. Now, Nakobe Dean's been dealing with a slight ankle injury. So again, we've talked about the depth on this team. We've mentioned it multiple times when you look at the linebacker position, and we asked, I think a veteran is needed. We went over it. I think the last show you and I were on
2 weeks ago. Yes, sir.
Options.
And who did I say I wanted more than anybody else?
You said Miles Jack.
I damn sure did. And here's the thing. So look, Zach Cunningham, I know you're very high on him. I don't know personally enough about him. So I'm going to let you stay there. Miles Jack is an absolute demon when it comes to chasing down the ball, which is what you need out of the linebacker. We've had linebackers over the last couple of years who fly around the field and get towards the team lead in tackles. Miles Jack can be that player while making sure guys like Nakobe Dean get to do their job the right way. It also provides, I don't know much about Nicholas Morrow. I think that Zach Cunningham and Nicholas Morrow are going to battle out for snaps. I think Christian Ellis is a good linebacker, but he's just too damn young. And you can see by, Zach Cunningham getting signed onto this team and him falling on the depth chart. I think Sean Bradley is going to be a cut this season. I think that this team now has a linebacker room that is to be feared. Adding a player like Miles Jack, who is young. He is young, and he's on a 1-year deal. So I always talk about these 1-year prove-it deals. This is the perfect one. Miles Jack and Zach Cunningham are looking to get paid, and if they get an opportunity on the field, and I don't think they're going to get much of an opportunity, at least early in the preseason. I think as the preseason goes on, they'll get some snaps. But they're going to wreak havoc.
So Miles Jack, the only thing is I don't like his number. 47 gives me some nightmares.
Oh, I don't care.
He turns 28 in September. So
yeah,
he's not like it's like a 31-year-old linebacker sign. He's 28.
He's looking for his next big payday because he's going to get one.
And again, that's hopefully he does. Hopefully he plays well. Like Kaiser White was able to get a decent deal, be able to sign with the Cardinals and get pretty good money, which is he bet on himself and he was good. And Zach Cunningham will be 29 in December. So again, he's a veteran linebacker, has played with the Texans and the Titans. And 6'3", 230 pounds. He is exceptional against the run. He's not the best against the pass. Again, Eagles have had linebackers like that. TJ Edwards was not stellar against the pass, but he was very good against the run. So again, this is about doing your job, doing what you do best. And you have guys like Christian Ellis and Nicholas Moore. Now, again, one of these linebackers could possibly be cut as well, whether it's Morrow, possibly Cunningham or Jack, depending on how they play and everything. But adding this depth, and again, it says something that they added 2 linebackers. It wasn't like they just added one guy. They added 2. And I know Sirianni talked about it, and he kind of pushed it off and said, we like our room. We like this guy's a little nicked up and everything. To kind of, making, not so much make an excuse, but he didn't want to say, yes, we need players, because it's, throwing some shade at the guys that are in the room, especially in the media. You don't want to do that. You can do that behind closed doors. That's totally fine. But for them to add 2 veterans really shows. It's kind of like last year after or before the Colts game when they added Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph, knowing that they had an issue at that interior position with depth, that they needed to get deeper, needed to have more guys. To me, that's what this really points towards is they know they need depth at that position. And they added these 2 veterans. And
again, you're talking about a position that we value very, very highly because we're dealing with, the Jeremiah Trotter position. We're dealing with a position that we have grown to love. That's the same thing why we have a love for the safety and the DNs. Like we have expectations for the linebacker position. And what
Chip, I will tell you this though, after this season into next year, draft time and all that stuff, end of the year into January, February, you will be hearing a name that will be a linebacker that a lot of Eagles fans are going to want on this team.
And that name will be?
Jeremiah Trotter Jr.
Oh, I already know. I follow him on Instagram. I'm ready to go.
Yeah. I just want to throw that out there.
I'm so excited. But again, you can build a roster, right? And the Eagles definitely improve. I always judge an offseason by did they get better from the first day of the offseason to the end of the preseason. This Eagles team clearly got better. But when they got in the room and they started sitting in the meetings and they looked around at what they had, they realized that the losses that they had in the linebacker position were not made up by what they added on. So, yes, Nicholas Morrow might be very good, but Kaiser White was better. Yes, Nakobe Dean is good, but they had better players that were healthy. And Nakobe Dean being hurt is scary because you want Nakobe Dean to be a leader on this defense, and yet he's nicked up already. So, yes, right now they do have a whole bunch of guys listed at the linebacker position. It's a long preseason. There's going to be opportunities for these guys. And we know, and it's the same thing with the offensive line position, we know that Howie does a great job right around week 2-3 of the preseason of starting to trade players for picks that have put on good film. And I would expect to see that out of at least one lineman and out of at least one linebacker.
No, they definitely can do something with that because Howie's very good at being able to maneuver, knowing a guy's not going to make the roster, knowing you're not going to be able to move him and able to get him on the practice squad because either he'll get claimed or whatever it may be. He's able to swap, get a late round draft pick, something, an asset back. And also, he's also very good at knowing that a player is on the last year of a deal. Team isn't going to re-sign him, going out, swooping up, and getting
something. Just getting something.
And don't be surprised if he does that because that is definitely something. Again, hoping, making up words here. Hoping that there is no injuries, but again, you never know. And we've always mentioned it too. And again, that is a thing when you look at the two linebackers that were signed, you don't want to wait because there's a lot of veterans that are signing right now because one, it's in the training camp. You know, some veterans do like to wait because when injuries happen or bad play or whatever it may be, their phone gets called and then they kind of have a little bit of the leverage. When you see some teams like Kareem Hunt doing multiple visits, and you have all these other players doing some visits and giving options that, you know, for them, they're in the driver's seat now.
And again, you don't know what you have until you get in there and start working. And I think the perfect example to bring back an old Eagle is what happened over in Minnesota, right? The Minnesota Vikings they have Justin Jefferson, yes, and they have KJ Osborne, yes, but they still had Jalen Reagor. And there is a video going around of Jalen Reagor not only not doing, football things, but he ran a drill completely wrong. Completely wrong. So what did they do? They went out and they signed N'Keal Harry. So there's going to be a competition. This Eagles team thrives on competition. You know what? I want a job. I'm going to be better. And that comes right from the top with Nick Sirianni and all these draft rooms. That's kind of what other teams are starting to do. You know what I mean? So I see Kareem Hunt going to the Saints. They're going to throw a lot of money at him because they're going to be without Alvin Kamara for a while. But at the same time, the Colts are going to throw a ton of money at him because who knows what's going on with Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, it's going to be – that's an interesting thing to think about. And, when it comes to that, but for me, like, I don't know. When that whole situation – and I'm glad the Eagles don't have, those type of situations right now with a player holding out, a player wanting a huge deal. Look at NFC East rival Dallas Cowboys and Zach Martin. They're all pro, one of the best offensive guards in all of football, wants more money.
Tony Pollard, who's now going to be their lead back, why would he want to go back from his injury until he's got his guy back? And they got rid of Ezekiel Elliott, who's still looking for a job. What's going on there?
So that's also something to keep an eye on because they have a lot of players, big time players that are going to get huge deals. You're not going to be able to keep everybody. So For me, we'll see what happens there. They have some, they have stuff brewing over there. But again, it's good because when we started this in 2020 and then into 2021, there was so much of that we had to talk about every single week. It was something, a news report coming out, something
when
like
I
that.
joined the show, it was the Eagles could not stay out of a weekly report. Now it's business as usual. And I actually think, again, you mentioned the Cowboys. It was a great segue for my point, which is Dak Prescott got in the news this week because he likes when his teammates talk crap to him, and he lets it happen because it shows that he's one of the guys. That's a way to do it. Or you could be the unquestioned leader of the team in Jalen Hurts. You could be a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, who has gone into a situation and his goal is to make everybody around him better. I don't need my players second guessing me in the huddle if I'm the face of the franchise quarterback.
It's, for, Hurts, the leadership, lead by example, but
it's
if
amazing.
I need to say something, I will say something. It's, it's absolutely amazing. And
everyone is going to listen.
This team has a bunch of guys on the team, on the roster, that you can count on and not be worried about. Because after 2020, you knew going into 2021, so Wentz is gone. And then that year, Zach Ertz leaves.
Dude is still looking for a job, by the way. Carson Wentz is still looking for a job.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens.
And what will happen is
someone will get hurt and he'll get signed as a backup.
100%, but not as a starter. And Peanut said it great here. Dak is an absolute cornball. No question. Peanut, I agree. I don't understand. He's given himself a lot of bulletin board material early on in this preseason where I'm not throwing more than 10 interceptions, and he's thrown 7 of them to Trayvon Diggs already. I like the way that Jalen Hurts does things, which is I'm not going to say much. I know the company line. I know my personal leadership line, and I'm sticking to that, and I'm going to let my play on the field dictate everything. I don't need to talk about my play on the field. My play on the field will talk for itself.
Yeah, and that's, again, I like that too, and it's absolutely crazy. And again, the Eagles did make some roster moves as well. Keep in mind who they got rid of because it may lead to our question a little bit. So just keep that in the back of your head when it comes to that. So, but no, the Eagles have a preseason game coming up Saturday. We'll touch on this before we get to Name That Philadelphia Eagle and wrap this show up. But the Baltimore Ravens have a 23-game preseason win streak.
Oh.
I've been seeing it all over social media the last day or two since they've won 23 straight preseason games. And my question is, what are we going to see in terms of the Eagles? What do you think? And do you want to see the starters play at all in week 1, knowing that they have the joint practices with the Browns coming up, and then they have a joint practice with the Colts as well, I believe. But what do you want to see come Saturday night?
So, yes, the Baltimore Ravens have this epically long win streak that nobody cares about. And
well, some people care about it.
No, they don't.
I don't know.
Winning in the preseason is like the Lakers being the bubble NBA champions. Not real. Okay? Not real. I think that the Eagles have very high expectations, and I think that they need to make it through the preseason healthy, which is obvious. That's an always. I think what we've learned is these joint practices teach us a lot more than the preseason games. The preseason games are an opportunity for players to get game action on film. And I like that. It gives the young guys a chance to play. It gets that speed of the defense, the speed of the offense, the speed of the game into question. You've got the Titans right now. Even their head coach is sitting out the first game. Mike Vrabel is not head coaching. He's giving one of his assistants an opportunity to lead the game.
Which is great.
First off, that's amazing, and I love that, and I think that should be the new norm. Give these young assistants an opportunity to test their coaching chops. But I don't want to see much. I want to see efficiency in running an offense, efficiency in running a defense. I don't want to see a bunch of penalties. And if they happen to win, that's great. But I look at, we're going to see Tyler Huntley versus Marcus Mariota. That's what we're going to see. We're going to get an opportunity to see Josh Johnson again because he's the third string quarterback. We're going to get to see Nelson Aguilar, who is on the Ravens. We're going to see Odell Beckham, who's on the Ravens, but I don't think he's going to start. He's still coming off of injuries. And it doesn't make sense to play Odell with Tyler Huntley because it's not Lamar Jackson. I don't think you're going to see Gus Edwards. I think you're going to see a healthy dose of Justice Hill and Melvin Gordon. You're not going to see much. Some of these guys aren't even going to suit up.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, I think the Eagles may do what they did last year, where the first game they played a series and then pulled them. But again, they're on the road, so maybe they save that for the first preseason game at home, where they play the starters. But
hold on, because last season, while Jalen Hurts was the QB1 the entire way, we knew that. He still had a lot to prove going into the season. What does Jalen Hurts have to prove by seeing game action this week?
You don't have to prove anything.
How about Jason Kelce?
I don't think Jason Kelce is going to play.
Put Dallas Goedert out there for a couple snaps. Help Marcus Mariota get settled. I'm fine with that. You've got enough running backs. Play all the running backs. I don't care about that. What I'm saying is I just don't certain key people need to not be suiting up. Not even suiting up.
But again, you have to look at it this way too. They could get hurt in the scrimmages that they do, the joint practices.
I understand that.
So, unfortunately, injuries can come anyway, whether it's in a non-contact in practice, an injury in a preseason game, an injury in a joint practice.
But here's what I'm saying. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, they don't need to suit up. Quez Watkins must suit up.
Yeah, I just still think that you're going to see maybe a series. And then that's basically it. That's what they've done the last 2 years, actually. But, last preseason game, you're not going to see anybody.
No.
It'll be all maybe second string for a quarter, and then it'll be all third and fourth strings because now they have gotten rid of they cut down to 75 and then cut down to 53. No, it's from 90 to 53. So that last preseason game is literally going to be the third and fourth stringers trying to make either practice squad spots, a spot on another team, or maybe the last 2 to 3 spots on the roster. So, I love preseason games. I'm one of those sickos who love to watch every minute of a preseason game, even if it's terrible football at the end. It's almost like watching a USFL or an XFL game, which a lot of those players will wind up ending up playing for them and hopefully getting another chance to be able to play more. Again, I like the concepts of those leagues because it gives people and players opportunities.
It's a minor league system to get you on tape,
which is fine. And some teams need that because if you come from a small school and you can't break into playing on a preseason game too much, you can go and play 8, 7, 8, 9, 10 games in another league and show what you can do. I'm all for that. But I like Eagle football. I like preseason football.
Yeah, I'm ready for football because the Super Bowl left such a bad taste in my mouth that I have been craving it for all of these days. And in order to get back to a Super Bowl, it has started. You from day one, you had to be ready to go. And if Jalen Hurts could have set up a cot and slept in the link, I think he would have.
You may be right. Now, before we get to Name That Philadelphia Eagle, we do need to do one thing that we have missed for a very long time. And that is...
It's time for the Eureka-Locks of the week. Who's your lock?
So the Eureka Locks is back. And again, if you don't know what the Eureka Locks are, we make a prediction. we lock it in for whatever game it may be. We're going to go with the Eagles preseason game since that is on Saturday. And then we'll come back and see if we were right or if we were wrong, which if you've seen it before, you know what the story usually is. But I'm going to start with you, Chip. What is your Uleka lock of
Mine's easy.
the week?
It is a lock that this stupid preseason streak is ended on Saturday night. Locked.
So, of course, you took mine.
Yeah.
So I'm going to change it up a little bit. And I'm going to say Tanner McKee will throw a touchdown pass. And I had to do it because you had to bring him up. So,
And then he will trip over his clunky feet on the way to the end zone trying to celebrate.
but he will still throw a touchdown pass. So that is mine. Tanner McKee touchdown pass. Yours is the Eagles win and break the Baltimore Ravens preseason win streak.
Johnny, I'm telling you, next week, I cannot wait to discuss Tanner McKee's footwork with you. It is so bad. It is so bad.
We will see.
I want a U22. We don't do an all 22 here. I want a U22 where you have a film session and just yellow penning his clumsy, clunky clown shoes.
Well, he is 6'6", so he is very big. So, but again, now this brings us to a very fun little segment that we've been doing, and it is Name That
Philadelphia Eagles.
And it is Name That Philadelphia Eagle. And again, this is where there's 3 questions. 2 of them Chip will answer. The third one I will post out. And if we get any answers, we'll get that all set. But going to be something, I gave you a little hint. So make sure you remember that. So the first question is going to be an easy one.
Okay.
Of course. And I'm going to put the suspenseful music up. So the first Name That Philadelphia Eagle is the 2020 NFL Draft.
Mm-hmm.
The Philadelphia Eagles selected, of course, Jalen Hurts is the, of course, number 1 guy when you look at the draft pick in that year. The Eagles made 11 selections that year. How many of the 10 other selections can you name?
Okay.
You can't put it up on the screen either.
No. What?
I'm just saying. I know, I'm just saying.
All right. So 2020.
The pandemic year, so you got to think a little bit.
Yeah, they were at home, so I had to remember the. Oh, so that was the Justin Jefferson year.
It was the Justin Jefferson.
So that means Rager is one of them. Obviously, not on the team anymore.
Not on the team anymore. Rager is one of them.
Oh, this was one of my first articles for AATBirds. I ranked this draft class. Okay, hold on. Prince Tago, something or other, who I really liked, who never played for the team.
But he did get a Super Bowl ring with the Chiefs last year.
There you go. So he's
Prince
not
Tago Winogo.
Okay, that was going to be the dark horse there, but I remember liking him a lot, and he never played for the team. I'm trying to go backwards here. Our last pick was from Stanford.
Yes.
He was a defensive end.
Yes.
He didn't play for us. He went to the Commanders.
That's correct.
And that's Casey Toohill.
Yes, Casey Toohill. So now you got the last 2 selections correct.
Okay. Also not on the team.
Also not on the team.
Okay. That was the speed year. So we got Rager, and then we got the track star in Quez Watkins, who is obviously still on the team.
Quez Watkins.
We also got John Hightower, who is not on the team.
John Hightower is on the Los Angeles Chargers.
That's right. Okay. Okay. Where am I at right now?
So you have 5, because you got Rager. So you got 5 right now.
Okay. That's pretty good, actually. Oh,
Actually, there's 10. Sorry. I said there was 11. There's 10.
okay. Kayvon Wallace was that draft class, right?
Yes, it was.
He's on the team. Was Driscoll that draft class?
It was Driscoll. He was a teammate of Prince Tega Winogo.
That's right. We got the 2 Auburn kids.
Yep.
All right. So I got what? 3 left.
You have 2 left.
Ooh. Okay. That
Both the
was
same position.
What is that position?
I'm not telling you the position.
Okay.
It makes it too easy. But I gave you a hint earlier, and that'll tie into the last 2. Because you mentioned the one guy already, but you didn't mention the other guy I gave you a tidbit on.
Oh, the cut thing, right?
Yes.
So linebacker, which would be recent linebackers, would be Sean Bradley out of Temple. No,
That's
Davion.
one? Yeah.
He's at Temple, right?
Yes.
Okay.
There's one more left.
I said they were going to cut Sean Bradley, which means he's not cut yet, but Davion Taylor was.
Bingo. There is all.
Did I get all 10?
You got all 10. See?
Ooh, I didn't like that one.
And that was the easy one.
No. Whew.
So now we go to the
You know what it
media.
is? It's the fact that it all blends together sometimes.
Yes.
But you saying the COVID year really helped.
Now we go to the medium question. And it's staying in that same year. The Eagles made 2 trades. One before the draft, and they made one during the draft. What 2 players did they acquire?
Draft night, it was basically like a draft pick, which was Marquise Goodwin,
That is correct.
who never played because he took the COVID year off.
And there was one more they did before the draft.
What position did we acquire?
Defensive back.
Was it Slay?
It was Darius Slay. Traded a 3rd and a 5th round selection for Darius Slay.
So the only reason, again, you picked the year that I had to write about. I wrote an article about ranking the draft and grading the draft class. So that was a good year for me.
Mm-hmm. So now it brings us to the hard question. Yeah.
I ain't saying nothing. My brain melted.
So the Name That Philadelphia Eagle hard question edition. The Philadelphia Eagles in 2020, they had an undrafted free agent who would go on to play in 2020. Unfortunately, did not fare too well in his appearance towards the end of the season, where he was highlighted, and it was a pretty sad stat line when you looked at it. And of course, there's been screenshots of it and everything. This gentleman played a different position in college, transitioned over to the defensive side of the ball, and played for the Philadelphia Eagles as the developmental player that a lot of fans thought was going to be a quality player, a quality starter, and that just did not happen. But that is your hard question for Name That Philadelphia Eagle. You can't say it, Chip, until we get off.
Biting my tongue.
But yeah, it wasn't as hard this week. I don't want to throw too difficult. I want to stay somewhat. The recent stuff isn't as hard as if I were to go back. I have another one. Either I'm going to do next week or the week after from the mid 90s and then late 90s. So I'll do that one. But there's name that Philadelphia Eagle. But that, for 50 minutes in, we're about done with the show. Of course, make sure you check us out. All the socials, AATBirds on Twitter, AATBirds on Instagram, at AT Sports Network on YouTube. Make sure you're following us. Make sure you're subscribing. If there's any type of content or anything you'd like to see, definitely send us a message, hit us up. Definitely take a peek at the Philly sports trips, the Jets and the Washington trip. We have a bus trip going out there to both of them. So we're leaving from the Allentown area in the Lehigh Valley. So if you do live in the Lehigh Valley area, or, Berks County, live close enough to the Lehigh Valley, you don't want to drive to Philly to have to go to, say, New York or Washington. You can use that. So make sure when you log on and you go on, make sure you click the Lehigh Valley tab on there. So you make sure that you are secured for the Lehigh Valley spot. But definitely check that out. They do awesome job with everything that they're doing. We have a couple things planned that we are working on come the future. So definitely keep an eye on that. So if you want that news, make sure you of course, follow us and hit the notifications tab, just so when either we have something go live, or if we have a notification or news or anything like that, you get the update right away. But with that, we always end the show with two awesome and fun words.
Go Birds!
Go Birds!
Can't wait.
This is Matt Ware. Hey, for all the Eagle content you need, go follow All About the Birds. They do a damn thing. Check them out.
Hey, Eagles fans, I may be in Tampa, but I know where to find the best Eagles content out there. Check out my friends at All About the Birds.
Philadelphia, what's up? This your boy Freddie Mitchell, a.k.a. Fred X. It's all about the bird.
All birds all the time. All birds all the time.
All About the Birds provides you with weekly analysis, game recaps, informative interviews, and it's all birds all the time.